What's up, my dudes? My name is Mr. Turley, and this is the track review of Tortilla Flats. So you guys can already see it. Super unique vibes, super different kind of feeling. I mean, this track right here, I don't know. This is kind of what I feel like Supercross tracks are going to be in about 2 or 3 years, or maybe even a little longer than that. But I feel like this is how they're going to kind of get over time in real life and on MX Simulator. So this is a very unique track here. I mean, I've never seen jumps and stuff built like this. It's very tricky, very difficult Supercross track here, so you got to be very careful on it if you're not very good at MX Simulator, because it will trick you up pretty quick. So it's just the jumps are so peaked, and it's kind of one of those where you just got to land it perfect pretty much everywhere to even be able to ride on the track at all. So very tricky track here, boys. Like I'm saying, be careful on it, because these rhythm sections and stuff, you could pretty much go backwards on them, if that makes sense, to where like what you're landing on could be a jump face going the other way. So you really got to like angle the bike down just perfectly to hit some of these landings right. So a very tricky Supercross track, but right up my alley right here. I mean, I love tricky tracks like this for sure. So and then this jump right here, you can actually jump all the way to the end right here. So I actually hit this on like lap 2 or 3, so you guys get to see it here. So but I mean, totally unique. Just by the name of the track, you can already tell it's going to be a good one. Tortilla Flats, man, and it totally matches the name too. That's what's cool. Like, obviously all the cacti off of the track, and then it's kind of got like the desert vibe, sandy vibe, but it's not like a total desert, if that makes sense. There's still some like trees and whatnot around it and rocks, so it just totally matches the name, man. If I ever could have thought of a track that looked like Tortilla Flats, this is it right here, 110%, boys. So yeah, this track though, awesome design, totally unique, just by the way it's built, but also by the way it looks. Is just, you know, sometimes you see those tracks that kind of look like other tracks or feel like other tracks, but this is not that at all. I mean, totally different, like I'm saying, the looks of it, but also the actual way it's built. Very different from any other Supercross track or any track out there, period. So if you're trying to look for something a little different than what you've been riding on, hop on this track, because it is way different than any other track out there. So right here, I finally hit this. I think it's like a 6 jump, or yeah, I think it's like either 5 or 6 on it. So you got to be really careful, because it's so hard to get on your brakes quick enough for the corner after that. So but scenery, I mean, very good looking track, off track wise. And but I mean, you guys can see it. It's probably, just by looking at it on a video, it probably doesn't seem as difficult as it feels. Once you get on the track, you'll know this isn't very easy. These jump sections and stuff, they're pretty wicked, man. That's the only way to explain them. They're just straight up wicked. Like I mean, let me get in this other view to kind of get a good look at them here. So I mean, you guys can see it, you know, you hit that first jump, but look how steep. You know, you're literally supposed to land on one of these steep jumps right here. You have to pretty much triple this, because, I mean, if you try to quad it, that would be one heck of a stretch out right there, man. I don't think you can actually quad that, but or you can kind of like see it's a little bit lower to the inside, so you could just kind of like roll over this first jump and then land right here. But I mean, it's just the jumps themselves are so high off the ground, like they're so built up that it is very tricky, man. This is kind of what I feel like Supercross tracks are going to become in like 2000 and what, like 17, 18, 19, something like that. You know, they just get more difficult and more difficult, and this is kind of what they're going to get to at one point in time, whether you like it or not. You know, that's how things evolve over time. Everybody gets faster and faster and better, and so the tracks kind of got to get better and better so that it still separates the men from the boys. And this is one of those. This like separates, you know, the pros from pastrana, if you know what I'm saying. I mean, it's gnarly, bro. This track is no joke for sure. These jumps, I mean, if you do not land on just perfect, you're screwed. Like, there's literally no room for error at all. If you mess up at all, first of all, there's about I would say 80-90% chance you're just going to die instantly, and then the other chance that you do end up landing it, you're not going to be able to hit the next section for sure at all, so it's going to completely screw you for the rest of the jumps in the section. So really awesome track. I mean, hats off to this dude for the uniqueness on this. I could have never thought to have made a supercross track like this. I can just admit that right now. If I personally would have built this, I would have been sitting there thinking, man, this is way too hard, but he's managed to build it in a way that it's hard, like really hard and really different from a lot of tracks, but it's still rideable. You know, you can still do laps on it after you kind of run on it a little bit, run a few laps on it, and so he's managed to make it super difficult and super different, but it's not like unrideable at the same time. That's one thing I had a lot of problems with when I was making tracks, is I would make them just so difficult to where you couldn't tell the distances of the jumps and stuff like that. It's so easy to make tracks that are like that, you know, where it's hard to tell like the distances, and some of them are just really peaked and stuff like that. But he's managed to make all the jumps on the track kind of the same vibe. You know what I'm saying? Like they're all difficult, but they're all kind of the same amount of peakedness to them. So he's managed to make it fluent throughout the whole track as far as how the jumps are made. So you kind of get used to the track itself over time, if that makes any sense at all, if you guys are following me here. You know what I'm saying? Like every jump you hit, it's going to feel somewhat similar. Even though it's gnarly as all get out, it's still going to feel somewhat similar to all the other jumps. So you kind of start learning like, man, I got to hit these kind of jumps on this track this certain way, and then it makes you better for the track overall, if that makes any sense at all. So, but yeah, I mean, this track is a lot of fun. Obviously, all the cactuses off the track, cacti, and then he's got kind of some built-up area off the track. Wonderful scenery on this track. I mean, pretty cool stuff with the cacti and then the bushes, and then he's got kind of the desert tree vibe going on, and then the rocks and everything. It all looks great. So, yeah, I mean, I've never seen a track quite like this before, man, and I love unique tracks like this. I can't stress this enough to people, where there's just nothing like it, bro. You know, there's just nothing like a track that doesn't look like any other tracks, but also doesn't ride like any other tracks. Totally different track here. So, but very cool, because I've been kind of waiting on a track like this where it just super difficult but still rideable at the same time, and that's kind of what this is right here. So I'm definitely 10 overall on this track. Clap for you, bro. Hats off to you. This is amazing stuff right here. I mean, definitely took a lot of time to think about a lot of these rhythm sections and stuff, and just making it to where it's very, very challenging but still doable. So very cool. So I'm going to say the difficulty, I don't know, man. This is it's between hard and pastrana for sure. It's up there, bro. Like it's not unrideable, so it's hard for me to say it's like pastrana difficult, but gosh, some of these rhythms, if you're not on a 450, you're screwed on this track, bro. Let me just tell you, you ain't gonna be able to hit none of these triple N's over there or anything like that. Meanwhile, Superman on the whoops, but no, you're not going to be able to hit any of those triple N's or bigger like quad triples. That's going to be pretty much impossible on anything but the 450. So I don't know, man. This jump right here is tricky as all get out to get it all the way to the table. And then right here, I don't even know if you could quad that. It'd be pretty tricky to see. The tricky thing about the track is just simply that the landings are so peaked. That's the whole trick to it. Another Superman there, boys. So that's the whole trick to it. It's not really that the jumps are too gnarly per se. It's just your landings are so peaked that you really got to hit it perfect, you know, like every jump, you just got to be really precise with it. So, man, I don't know. It's between that hard and pastrana. I'm just going to say, man, I don't know, dude. I'm just going to say pastrana difficulty. I got to give it pastrana difficulty because there's a couple of these jumps, man. Woo, they're not easy. So, but just, it's not unrideable. Let me just tell you guys that. Like I was saying, it's not pastrana like, oh, it's hard to even run a lap, but it's just, it's tricky. It's a tricky thing to, it's easy to just sit there and double all the jumps, if that makes sense. But once you really start hitting the bigger lines and stuff like triple N's and quads and whatnot, that's when it starts getting up there on that ultra tricky side, like the pastrana difficulty. So, but just think of it like between hard and pastrana. It's not like, I wouldn't call it totally pastrana, but it's like between hard and pastrana, if that makes sense. So anyways, I appreciate all you guys watching these videos, and I'll keep on making them. Thanks, guys.